Hello everyone. Today's story, AITA for refusing to share my bio kids' funds with stepchildren. I, 40 female, have a son who is 17 male. We lost his dad when I was 28. It was hard for us. We didn't have time to build a massive fortune. But from his insurance and other investments, I created a trust fund for my son, and the money there is around $150,000. I have done well career-wise and am employed at a government job, which is secure until 60 and pays decently for an upper-middle-class lifestyle. I met my current husband when I was 30, he was 32, during some event. We connected from day one and a year later got married. My husband has twins aged 15 male and 15 female. Their mother is involved in their life, and my husband made clear from day one that children's finances would be kept separate. We share groceries, necessities, and clothes, etc. Fund. But savings and school fees are kept separately. We also own our home separately, and I am currently living at his house and renting my own. Note that rent is exclusively used for whole family travels, etc. My son and his children get along fine, but they don't call us parents or each other siblings. We also have a daughter together who is 7. Also, I save a lot for my young daughter as she won't have this trust fund, and I want to secure her future. The recent issue has been that my son has that fund, and he wants to study in Australia and is preparing for his move next year. My husband's children have their fund, but the max he can contribute to each child's fund is $25,000. He lost money on gambling, and his ex-wife doesn't save. He says let's join all funds and is pressuring my son. He was giving in. I refused. I said it was my son's inheritance from his dad and that can't cover the loss of a father. My husband exploded and verbally abused me in anger. I also didn't hold back. He slapped me. The first time ever in life, he hit me. We sorted out things later, but I'm not going to give this fund. My stepchildren, who have always been cordial to me, are suddenly calling me an evil monster. The same children for whom I prepare meals every morning at 6 a.m., wash their clothes, iron them, and buy them clothes and other things, despite my husband barely doing it for my son. If combined, the fund will come out to $83,000 each, though it will still cover Australian education for all three. I'm not going to do that. His children also want to go to Australia now. My son said he doesn't want my marriage to fall and said he will give away the amount if it makes me happy. I said no and said his future can't be compromised. I told my husband that it isn't my fault that he was careless in 9 years of marriage. He never acted like this, and he is giving cold treatment since. My marriage is on the verge of breaking, but I can't deny my son his rights. I know if I say yes, he will happily share, but I won't. I'd rather burn. But I am crying at the way my man is treating me. My parents are saying you won't find a man later and to compromise and make peace. They said the fight was a one-time happening, and we are expected to adjust. Also, I want to give him a chance if he stops poking my son. My friends are saying it's tough to find a man again when you're a widow and then a divorcee. Edit. Also to add, he started drinking more now and demands sex, which I refuse. It is leading to fights, and I let him do it many times, though I hate it, doing it with his drunk self. Also, he slapped me in private. My children don't know about it nor my parents. They know we fought. AITA for refusing to share? Next story. AITA for suing my neighbor after their kid trespassed and fell into my koi pond? I, 22 male, have a koi pond in my backyard. It's not just any koi pond, it's a full-blown, professionally designed Japanese garden with a bridge, waterfalls, and koi that cost more than my car. I'm talking $1,000 for a single fish. Maintaining this pond is my pride and joy. I've put years into this hobby, and my yard is securely fenced with no trespassing signs everywhere. Enter my neighbor, Karen, fake name, but fitting. Karen has a son, let's call him Timmy, 8M, who is notorious for wandering into other people's yards uninvited. I've talked to Karen multiple times about this, but she just brushes it off with, kids will be kids. Last week, while I was out running errands, I got a frantic call from Karen. Apparently, Timmy climbed over my fence to feed the fish, even though I have explicitly told him to stay out. In doing so, he slipped, fell into the pond, and destroyed part of my carefully maintained ecosystem. Several of my prized koi died due to stress, and the filtration system was damaged because of the debris Timmy kicked in. Luckily, Timmy wasn't seriously hurt, just a few scrapes, but Karen has been demanding I pay for his medical bills. She claims my pond is an attractive nuisance and that I should have had a cover or something to prevent kids from falling in. I argued that, 1, it's a private, fenced property, and 2, her son had no business being there in the first place. When I refused to pay, Karen lost it and started bad-mouthing me to the whole neighborhood, calling me heartless and a terrible person. I've since filed a lawsuit against her for the cost of the koi, the damage to my filtration system, and repairs to my pond, over $5,000 in total. Some of my friends think I'm taking it too far, saying, he's just a kid. but others agree that Karen should have been watching him better. So, Reddit, AITA for suing my neighbor after her kid trespassed and destroyed my koi pond? Next story, AITA for refusing to host my estranged brother's wedding at my home? My brother and I have been distant for years. He cut ties with me after a disagreement over our late parents' estate. I inherited the family home, while he received a significant amount of money. At the time, he said he didn't want anything to do with the house because it held no sentimental value to him. Fast forward to now, I've poured years of work and savings into restoring the house. It's my pride and joy, and I've hosted small gatherings here for close friends and family. Out of the blue, my brother reached out, announcing his upcoming wedding and asking to host it at my home. I was taken aback. This is the same brother who hasn't spoken to me in years, who insulted me during our last conversation, and who didn't even invite me to his engagement party. When I asked why he wanted my home, he said it was perfect for the aesthetic and would save him money on a venue. I politely declined, explaining that I didn't feel comfortable hosting such a big event for someone who's been out of my life for so long. He exploded, accusing me of being petty and holding on to grudges. Now, his fiancée and even some relatives are calling me selfish, saying I should move on for the sake of family. Am I really in the wrong for protecting my space and boundaries? Next story, me, 26 male, and girlfriend, 27 female, said she wanted to end our relationship because I fell asleep out of exhaustion. My girlfriend and I have been together for just shy of a year. Throughout our relationship, we've had many fights and arguments. We've worked through a lot, but no one has ever cheated or done anything horrible. We both expressed before dating that we wanted to push each other to be better people. She started our relationship going to the gym and meal prepping, something she enjoyed and found made her stable. I wanted to go to the gym every day and eat healthy, something I had been working on to get back into and doing in the past. I'm currently down 55 pounds from when we first started talking. Her last relationship, and only relationship, was with a postman child who was abusive. It was a few years before that relationship ended and her and I began dating. Every time we've argued, I'm always the one at fault. Even when I know it's not my fault, I put myself in her shoes and apologize. I can think of only 2 times in a year she has owned up to being wrong, but mostly blames me for things that, in my opinion, are not actually because of me. She's expressed frustrations with me over bigger things like previously sleeping too much, not following through, and a host of smaller things. Recently, we started going to the gym every morning. I've been waking up at 6 a.m. to go without a problem. We've built a routine in the evenings that I've had to practically beg her to do. I've expressed that the only way I can function is to go to bed at a decent hour and get 7 hours of good sleep. She can function on 5 and doesn't seem to understand why I need so much. The breakup stems from last night where she told me she was done and checked out, and I explained and expressed to her, after she said some very hurtful things, that I've done everything she's asked. But it's never good enough. I've told her we're going to the gym, yet she says, it's only been 4 days in a row. I tell her I've done all the household chores in addition to my physically labor-intensive job. It's not good enough. She said it's taken a year and that I've stepped on her and don't care about her by not doing everything she's asked, which I have. It's just taken time. I have completely changed my diet to 100% healthy foods. Done everything she's asked me to do in regards to making her feel loved. Cut my sleep patterns back from 10 to 11 hours a day to 7. Keep our apartment in pristine clean. She has OCD condition. Busted butt to make sure her financial needs are met. I pay the entire rent $1,600, quit dipping and am done with nicotine. Lost 55 pounds by a year of healthy habits. Today we woke up and went to the gym like normal. After getting home, I made her and me breakfast, and I didn't feel good so I laid down. I didn't have work today. I ended up falling asleep for 2 hours. I didn't get much sleep last night because of the argument, about 5 hours if that. When I woke up, she said she's done. She said she's done because it's a slap in the face to take a nap when she's told me that she sees it as lazy, even though 95% of everything we've worked so hard for and the routines we've set are in place. Am I delusional in thinking she's not seeing it clearly? Am I at fault? How do I help make her see how far I've come and how much effort I've put in? How do I help her understand that I've overcome so much and set so many healthy habits that me falling asleep isn't purposely a slap in the face to her? Thank you. Next story. AITA for thinking my sister destroyed my family? I met my first husband when we were both 16. We got married at 19 after discovering I was pregnant, and I had our son, Adam, when I was 20 years old. However, just 2 months later, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and passed away 6 months after that. It was the most traumatic experience of my life. One moment, we were a happy new family, and the next, he was taken from us. I need to mention that my husband came from a well-off family and was the only son of his parents, who had tragically passed away in a car crash a couple of years before we met. He wanted to change his will but lacked the strength to do so at that time and was worried about Adam. I didn't want him to be concerned about those matters, so I promised him that I would leave the money to Adam in a trust that he could access when he turns 18, which I followed through on. The next 2 years were challenging for me. I struggled with alcoholism while my parents took care of Adam. Eventually, I got pregnant from one of my many one-night stands and had my second son, Ben, who is now 26. Ben saved my life. I gave up drinking for him and have now been sober for 26 years. I also found a job as a bus driver. It wasn't easy, but it was the best time of my life. My sons were best friends, we were a close-knit family, and I was truly happy. However, everything changed when Adam turned 18. He gained access to the trust, which made our financial situation much more manageable. Without me even saying anything, he informed Ben that he would cover the cost of his college tuition. I sat Ben down to explain that Adam's late father had left him money, and I would gladly offer him the same support if I could. He said he understood and that he wouldn't need it, then asked if he could go to his room, which frustrated me. He is closed off and proud. In that regard, he resembles my husband more than Adam ever did. A couple of years later, he got accepted into medical school, and his brother offered to help him again, but he declined the offer. I thought that perhaps if I took out a loan to assist him, he might appreciate it, but he insisted he didn't need it. He had applied for some student aid and planned to borrow the rest. No matter what his brother or I said, he wouldn't change his mind. Left that year, and I haven't seen my son since. He chose a college on the other side of the country, and there was never a real argument about it. As time went on, he started to respond to my messages less frequently, offering excuses for why he couldn't come home during the holidays. Eventually, he stopped responding altogether and changed his phone number. I tried to locate him on social media, but I don't think he has any accounts, and I haven't been able to get in touch with him. I ran into an old friend of his. We chatted for a bit, and I learned that they were still in touch. I asked for his phone number, but the friend refused to share it with me. To be honest, I ended up begging a little. Eventually, he offered to give me his email address, but only if I promised never to reveal who provided it. I sent him an email expressing how much I missed him, how eager I was to see him, and how often he was on my mind. Part of me dreamed about him returning and being my son again. For months, I received no response, until a couple of weeks ago. He finally emailed me back, asking me to stop contacting him. He said he was tired of me pretending to love him. He mentioned that his aunt had told him I was the one who left Adam all that money. He had grown up happy and never minded using Adam's clothes and toys because he believed that was all they had. But now, he understood that I only cared about Adam. I won't go into detail about what he called me in that email, but I never expected him to feel such hatred toward me. That night, I came very close to having a drink again. It was only thanks to my fantastic sponsor that I didn't relapse. The next day, I called my sister and asked her how she could do this to me and why she was trying to destroy my family. We had a big argument, and she has been trying to contact me for the past week, but I refused to talk to her. Yesterday, her husband messaged me, telling me to stop blaming his wife for my mistakes. He said I needed to take responsibility for my choice to give everything to my firstborn. He mentioned that if my belief that I did the right thing helped me sleep at night, that was fine, but it wasn't their fault that I had neglected one of my children. I responded to him with a message telling him to go screw himself. I heard from my mother that he left the house after my sister discovered what he had done, and my sister was understandably angry with him. However, I don't care about that. She told my child only half the story, which made him believe that I didn't care about him. I'm not sure I can forgive her for that. She is my best friend, but I wonder if her husband is right. Maybe I did wrong by Ben when I gave his brother his inheritance. That's it for now. See you in the next post.